Welcome to the Business Happy Hour radio show with your host, Frank the Bank Cotto, the owner of Lincoln Lending Group right here in Tampa Bay for 23 years. Joined by his incredible co-host, Senia Akishina, realtor with Mahara and Associates, Tampa's top real estate company. Together, they have helped finance and close nearly $1 billion of real estate every year. If you're looking for local mortgage or real estate advice, the Business Happy Hour team has been right here on News Radio WFLA for over a decade. Listen right here or find us on the Business Happy Hour YouTube channel or follow us on Instagram at Frank the Bank Cotto. Now sit back, relax, and get ready for some serious mortgage, real estate, and business talk with two of Tampa's top experts. Here's Frank the Bank and Senia.
Hey, Tampa Bay, welcome back to the Business Happy Hour, your number one show for all things business and entrepreneurial. Boy, I've got a great show for you today. First, I'll tell you, Senia is out today, so Frank is doing this all by himself. That's right. And of course, James is in the studio with some great sound effects for us. Guys, Senia doesn't get too busy that often, so I'm going to get to do myself a little bit of a monologue today. And usually Senia takes up the fun time with me, but we're going to start. We've got a great show. We have Rick Maguire on the show. Welcome back for the second time, Rick.
Thank you, Frank.
Yes. So, Rick, a little teaser before I go on a little tangent here is Rick and I got to know each other about a year and a half ago, maybe a little longer, actually.
Yeah, it started in July, I think, of 25.
It did. That's right. And, Rick, where did we meet? Do you remember?
Well, it's long. Yeah, I mean, I was hearing your ads on the radio.
Okay.
With
Ryan Gorman.
Ryan Gorman.
Yep.
And it came at a time when I was actually contemplating something like that.
Okay.
And in the ads, he talked about your website and the different videos that you had. So I liked doing that because I didn't have to interact with anybody. You know, I could do it on my own and make my own decisions.
Yep.
And I decided that it was worth further perusal. You know, and I talked to my wife about it, and so I called you, and here we are today. I'm my second.
It's his second appearance on the radio show.
Yeah.
So
I've always wanted a radio career, you know.
Hey, you got one now. Listen, so Rick, sorry guys, I got to spin the camera around because Senia's out today, so I don't have the two camera system going. But it's funny. Rick, I always wanted to be on radio. Somehow I got into mortgages, and that's actually a funny story. I might as well tell the story to the audience. But then Rick wanted to be on radio. All he had to do was get a reverse mortgage, and then he was on the radio. So I'm not promising that to everybody, right? But if you are interested in a reverse mortgage, by all means, we're going to be talking about them today. We're going to talk about what they're good for, and you're not going to have to listen to me as a salesman. You get to talk to a guy who actually lives and breathes with a reverse mortgage. So we're going to find out what he thought. We're going to find out why he wanted it, what it did for his family and him, and how things have been after a year and a half of having no mortgage.
Okay.
So we're going to find out about that. So a funny little story that I'll tell you. I'll just do this as my monologue today. You know, there's a lot of things going on in the world, and a lot of people are asking, what's going on? Do I have a crystal ball? No, I don't have a crystal ball. I can tell you this. The rates are very volatile right now. The world is volatile right now. We don't know what news headline we're going to wake up to tomorrow. So my advice to people is, if you're comfortable where you are, if you're comfortable in the right city and you need a bigger house. I'm in the process of buying a new house right now. I'll tease that a couple times during the show. But if you like where you are and you want to stay, it's pretty expensive out there. Gas prices are up. Interest rates are up. Prices of homes are probably going to continue to go up. A reverse mortgage might be a solution for you if you want to stay in your house and you don't want to move and you want to live there for the rest of your life for free. We're going to go over some of the myths today. I'm going to say what some of the myths of the reverse mortgages are, and then Rick's going to dispute them. Right? Because I'm just the sales guy, guys. I just own the company for 23 years. You can trust me all you want. We do have a great reputation, but ultimately I want you to trust the person who actually got one. And the website Rick's talking about is reverseguru.com. Right. So Rick, did you go to the website before we ever spoke?
Oh, yes. It was the success of your ads on the Gorman show.
Yeah.
And I spent a lot of time on them. They're pretty. They provide a lot of information.
The videos.
There's depth there. Yes. And here was our situation. My wife and I bought that house in 1989.
Okay.
When I moved to Florida. And we've been living there ever since. Our family grew up there. I mean, my kids were like born somewhere else, but they were very young when we moved here. They're from Florida, you know.
Right.
So we wanted to stay there because it's a big house and it's a place where the families always gather at holiday time and that sort of thing.
Right. The memories are still there.
Exactly. When we talked about mentioning it we mentioned to my son that we were thinking about selling the house. They freaked out. I got a call later that afternoon from my daughter saying, "You can't sell the house."
She's like, "I drew crayon underneath that bed."
Yeah, and now we have a granddaughter, my daughter's child, and the room that my daughter had as a kid is now my granddaughter's room when she comes to the house.
And that's special, though.
It is very special.
It is.
Yeah. And there are certain things you can't take with you, but you really want to have them while you're here.
Right.
So we were in a situation where we still had lived there for this long, and for reasons, money comes up and all that, we still had a mortgage to pay. And we're getting sort of into the fourth quarter of our life,
Mm-hmm.
And so we're looking at saying, we're never going to pay this mortgage off, not at this point in our lives.
Right.
And so I had my wife watch those videos, and we said it's worth exploring,
Right.
No one can make you do it.
Now, did you have some of the same reservations and personal thoughts about reverse mortgages before you watched the videos?
Well, yeah, I heard the noise. Okay?
Right,
yeah.
the noise.
And about people losing their houses, you're selling your house to the bank and all that other stuff.
Right.
And those videos dispelled that.
Right.
I was still skeptical. I said, I want a second piece of proof, right? And so we met and we talked. And in fact, I remember what you said to me, Frank, that when you get a lot of calls about new mortgages and so forth, you delegate them to one of your staff.
Right.
But what you said to me, when it comes to be a reverse mortgage, you handle that yourself.
I do.
Because there's so many myths about it, and it takes understanding to accept it.
Right.
Yeah. So that's how you and I met, and so we looked it over, and I got to tell you, I was thinking about what I was going to say today, and I think the most significant thing I can say is I have absolutely no regrets.
That's phenomenal.
Yeah, I have none whatsoever. I don't look back and say, geez, if I had only, and maybe I did, there's that doubtful kind of thinking that comes on.
Right.
Because when you wake up in the morning or when you put a nail in the wall, you say, no one can ever take this away from me. Now.
Never.
Mm-hmm.
Never.
And, you still have to pay obviously the insurance and the taxes. Now, as a side parenthetical little thing, I heard your guest the other week about the referendum coming up here in Florida.
Yes, the tax referendum.
Yeah, I'm all for it.
Yeah, thank you. So am I.
Yeah.
Even if they cut it in half, and even if they start with veterans and seniors over 62,
right.
something like that, for God's sakes, what would that do?
Well, I'm going to tell you something, Frank. One thing I also learned about getting into this reverse mortgage thing is that you can actually pay your taxes on an installment plan. I never knew you could do that.
Yes, you can.
So every quarter I send them what is a third of what the mortgage payment would be.
Yeah.
And likewise with the insurance, and I live in Carrollwood Village, so there's an annual
a few $100s a year, right?
Well, it's $1,000 a year.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. It was a few $100s 15 years ago.
Well, that's when I lived there.
I still ask myself, what do I get for this $1,000? The privilege of keeping my house.
A lot of lawn maintenance.
Not quite. And anyway, where was I going with this? I lost.
Well, we're just kind of just talking about how it made you feel, and the thing you could self escrow, and you weren't scared to lose your house or anything.
So here's the thing. I mean, the money that you had to part with every single month,
right,
to pay the mortgage. Well, they say, but you still have to pay the taxes well, the mortgage company doesn't say you can. It's your choice to give us that money or not. If your payment is built in with that, that's the payment.
That's the payment, right?
Yeah,
you won't getting foreclosed on if you don't make it.
Exactly.
Right.
So, here's how I would sell it to somebody if they asked me. I'd say, let's just say you have a mortgage and you don't want to pay it anymore. How about I show you an option where you can stay in your house, no one can take it away from you, and instead of having 12 mortgage payments a month, 12 mortgage payments a year, you can have, say, 3.
Right. That's really it.
That's it, because you still have to pay the taxes, as we said, and all that other stuff. So
Well, let's talk real quick about the taxes. We got a couple minutes left in this segment. So what Rick is saying is right. You are still responsible for the tax and insurance portion, but like Rick's point, you're paying that either way in your mortgage. When we say you can't lose your house, it's very important for you guys to know a mortgage company since 2014 cannot foreclose on a reverse mortgage person anymore because now they qualify with the younger of the two people, the husband or the wife. So it doesn't matter who flies up to heaven first. The other one gets to live there for the rest of their life, even if they live to 120. Now, later in the show, I'm going to tell my grandma's story, which is really what got me into reverse mortgages years and years ago and what taught me a lot of these lessons because in a reverse mortgage, like you said, your kids really wanted to keep that house. There are the memories in there. Most people don't know. There's a neat little thing called the Save Our Family Homes Act. That's what I named it, where if your house is actually worth less when you go to heaven and your wife does, than what you owe the bank, there's still an option for your kids to buy that home, right? And they get to buy it at 5% under whatever it's worth, regardless of what you owe. So your family and that heirloom, we'll call it the heirloom because that's what it is. Your kids didn't want to sell it because it meant something to them, right? This solves that problem. And we'll go into that in a little bit more detail when we get back. We have to take a quick commercial break. But Rick is telling us, very much from the heart, what he did here with the reverse mortgage, why he did it. We're going to talk to you guys about some of these myths when we get back on the Business Happy Hour. I'm gonna hit Rick with 3 different myths potentially, and he's going to tell me if it's real or fake. So stay tuned to the Business Happy Hour. We'll be back in just a minute with Rick Maguire and yours truly, Frank the Bank. And don't forget to go to reverseguru.com. It's part of the LincolnLendingGroup.com website family. It's reverseguru.com, or go to LincolnLendingGroup.com and you can jump to that by hitting the reverse mortgage button. And you too can watch all of the videos that Rick and his wife watched where they started asking questions and then found financial freedom. We'll be back in just a minute. All right. I'm going to run to the restroom real quick, Rick.
Can you bring it back like a small bottle of water?
Yeah, I can sell you dry mouth. Let me get you one. Yep, I'll be right back. 1 second. I'll do both.
All the best mortgage or real estate advice from Tampa Bay's top experts. It's the Business Happy Hour with Frank the Bank Cotto and Senia Akishina.
All right, guys, we are back on the air here on the Business Happy Hour. I have a great show. We've got Rick Maguire, the real human being who actually closed on a real reverse mortgage. And I forgot, Rick actually met me through listening to the Ryan Gorman Show and some of our commercials here on 970 News Radio WFLA. So we have Ryan and the team to thank for introducing me to Rick. Rick did his own research. His wife and they were skeptical, which, Rick, I think everybody should be skeptical, especially when you're being told, hey, this is a mortgage, you're not going to make a payment, and you're not going to lose your house, and things like that.
It's the old saying, Frank, it's too good to be true. It's got to be too good to be true.
Yeah.
And
have you found that to be true?
It's good and it's true.
It's good. It's true. So it's almost too good to be true, but you found it real.
It is real, yes.
Right. Mm-hmm. So let me go over. I want to ask. I'm going to flip the phone back and forth. I'm going to ask Rick a couple myths, and then Rick, you tell us your experience and if it's true or not. Okay. The first myth in a reverse mortgage is that if you do a reverse mortgage, you no longer own your home and you're giving your house to the bank. Is that true, Rick?
It is not true.
Not true at all.
Not true.
So you
bing,
still
bing,
own
bing,
it?
bing, bing, not true.
You still own your house?
I still own my house.
You're still on title?
I'm still on the title.
Amazing. Okay. Let's see. What's the other
Actually, we
one?
have two titles now, I believe. There's one with my name on it and one with my wife's name on it.
You are both on title. Absolutely.
Yes.
So you both are title holders to the house. Let's see. What's another real big myth on the reverse mortgage? Let's see. You don't sell your house to the bank. How about this? Can you sell your house if you wanted to, Rick, or move out and go somewhere else or refinance it?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Nothing weird about that, right?
I get calls sometimes or letters in the mail about refinancing my reverse mortgage.
Yes. Right. And I'll tell the answer to that question for everybody is, reverse mortgages are regular mortgages, right? It's just a loan. It's not anything really weird except for they defer the interest against your principal balance. Have you paid attention to that, Rick? Have you looked at the statements to see that the balance is going up at all?
Yes, I do. And it's always a negative number. And I know that's probably an accounting trick or something like that. So I push it aside.
Yeah. Because, the honest question is...
Because here's why, Frank. Because
please.
I don't really care anymore because I'm going to stay there,
Right.
Unless, I don't know what the future holds or anything like that. But if tomorrow is like today, I'm going to be living there for the rest of my life.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, I would agree with that.
Yeah.
That's probably one of the best statements anybody could make. And I don't like saying that, right?
Right.
I'm standing in front of a bunch of people and be like, hey, you shouldn't care. But Rick just answered the way that 95% of the people that we've done reverse mortgages answer. And, if we show them, let's say, a couple different programs. So we had a recent scenario where this gentleman he had $1 million-something house, right? Mm-hmm. And he could have gotten a program that had a much higher interest rate on the reverse mortgage, but they gave him more money, or a lower interest rate and they gave him less money. Well, he wanted more cash. So being very ethical and honest, I said to him, his name was Leo. I said, this one has a rate that's like 50% higher than this one. Okay. So, one rate was in the 6s, one was approaching 9%. And he looked at me. He goes, why do I care? Mm-hmm. And I'm like, that's a very personal answer. I said, but, you probably shouldn't. And that's where you came from on that.
Right. Here's another one that gotcha they come after.
Oh, please. Okay. Yeah.
Well, now you won't be able to deduct your interest on your taxes.
Oh.
And I say, well, thank God, because if I have to give a bank $25,000 a year to live in the house, and I get $350 back, I think I'm beating the bank a little bit.
I think you are. So Ricky is making me laugh because my dad, God bless him, he's been gone a few years now. He said to me back in the day, he's like, well, you should just do this. It's a write-off. I said, Dad, did you forget the part about I'm spending the money? He's like, oh, but that $10,000 expense is a write-off. I'm like, yeah, but the $10,000 isn't in my bank account after I do it. Right?
Whenever I hear the phrase write-off, it makes me think I lost something.
Yeah.
Because I have to write it off.
Yeah.
I have to dispose of it.
You did. You lost all the money you spent. And your analogy was great because, let's say if you got a $2,000 mortgage payment, right?
Yeah.
Well, that's $24,000 a year.
Right.
And that's about the average that I'd say we save people, and they are still responsible for their tax and insurance, obviously. So you made a good point about that. Another great point you made is you can actually kind of self-escrow. You can pay your taxes in installments.
Right.
So you've been doing it quarterly.
I have, yeah.
Which and that's pretty easy, right?
It's very much.
And do you do your insurance the same way?
Yeah, the insurance company I'm with now, and they only offer the option of either pay it all in full up front, or for a down payment, and then 3 quarterly payments.
Okay.
So I had to give them something like $2,000 at the beginning,
right?
And then I give them $1,100. I just gave my last payment, and then the next insurance. My insurance will have to be renewed in June. So,
right. But you know what else it does? It's kind of a neat thing. It also, in my opinion, it kind of forces people to shop for insurance.
Yeah.
And insurance rates are going all over the place. So I would highly recommend every year spend an hour or two, shop around for the insurance. A lot of times when people are escrowed and it's just coming out of their mortgage payment, they just don't pay attention.
They don't.
And then you know what the insurance agents do? They just put a new policy.
They cash the commission check.
They cash the commission check, and you don't even have any type of know into what's going to happen. You don't shop it, and that's probably some bad.
It's the old out of sight, out of mind thing, you know.
Exactly.
And so I see it; it doesn't go away. You'll get a notice sometimes. Your mortgage payment went up a little bit, but it's usually because the taxes went up.
Yes.
I'm not getting notified that my insurance went up.
No, it's because it normally doesn't go that much.
It doesn't change that.
So let's, this segment is the short one. I only have a minute left. I want to get into the Save Our Family Homes Act because I know your kids would love to hear this too. But before we take the break, we'll just talk about this. So, so in a reverse mortgage, we talked about how your balance goes up every month, right?
Yep.
Well, normally your equity in your home goes up,
right?
You know, our homes appreciate, right? Normally they kind of keep up with each other. So when we do a reverse mortgage amortization schedule, we'll say, all right, Rick, if you're going to live 20 years estimated, right? This is what you should owe, which that's pretty accurate. And this is what your house should be worth, right? So we show you. Now, there are situations where the market changes dramatically, all right? And that happened to my grandmother. And I'm going to tell the story when we get back and get some of your feedback on it because she was one of the people that the value went down because of when she took out the mortgage and the balance went up. And when she went to heaven, she was underwater. So here comes some of the other myths to reverse mortgages. What happens when that happens? What if the family still wants the house? Can they get the house? What if they have money in the bank? Can the bank come after it? Right? And I'm going to tell you a clue. All of the answers are good answers. And Rick and I are going to talk about how it's too good to be true, but it is true. So stay tuned to the Business Happy Hour. Go to LincolnLendingGroup.com or ReverseGuru.com. Check it out. And like Rick said, I will talk to you personally on your reverse mortgage. Stay tuned. We'll be back in just a minute. All right, that was our short segment.
Okay.
All right, anything coming to the mind that for the next stuff? If not,
I'm just vamping it, really.
Yeah, no, you're doing great. You're doing great. Let's see here. We'll talk about leaving it to the family. We already talked about you don't lose the house. You're always on title. We can talk about how they can't foreclose on you. Let me see. What other myths do you feel like that you had?
Welcome to the Business Happy Hour radio show with your host, Frank the Bank Cotto, the owner of Lincoln Lending Group right here in Tampa Bay for 23 years. Joined by his incredible co-host, Senia Akishina, realtor with Mahara and Associates, Tampa's top real estate company. Together, they have helped finance and close nearly $1 billion of real estate every year. If you're looking for local mortgage or real estate advice, the Business Happy Hour team has been right here on News Radio WFLA for over a decade. Listen right here or find us on the Business Happy Hour YouTube channel or follow us on Instagram at Frank the Bank Cotto. Now sit back, relax, and get ready for some serious mortgage, real estate, and business talk with two of Tampa's top experts. Here's Frank the Bank and Senia.
All right, Tampa Bay, welcome back to the Business Happy Hour. So in studio today, we have Rick Maguire. He is a friend and a longtime customer. Rick actually met us through the Ryan Gorman Show commercials that we do here at 970. Him and his wife were very skeptical about the reverse mortgage situation. Could you lose your house? You know, who is telling the truth? And Rick went to my website, ReverseGuru.com, without even calling me. Rick, your wife and you watched some videos. You got comfortable, and then you picked up the phone.
Correct.
Now, tell me this. I want to find out, why exactly did you do it? Right, the reverse mortgage. What was the reason your wife and you wanted to do it?
It was one of these. The old
Balancing Act.
Balancing Act.
Yeah.
And we both generally agreed firmly that we do not want to move. In fact, we looked at the opportunity to move, and we wanted to stay in the same neighborhood. And with the equity that we had, we thought we could buy our own place and get one of those condos around the neighborhood.
Right.
But then, you're getting a second mortgage with that, so to speak, because they have a monthly association fee.
Yeah, it's like a whole nother house payment.
It's a whole nother house payment. And I said, this is no good. So much for that idea,
Right.
And
it's not a lot of times it's not cheaper to downsize because the downsize is super expensive.
Yeah.
And you owe a lot less on your mortgage than that.
Correct. So that didn't work. And I just kept saying that, I think this is the real McCoy. I think this is what it's telling me it is.
Yeah, and you wanted to stay in your house, and this was the solution.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So what other myths did you encounter before you did the reverse mortgage, before you got to meet me in person? What other myths did you go through?
One of the things I heard a lot was, you're going to run out of equity and they're going to evict you.
Oh.
Then you're going to have to come up with all this money. What are you going to do about that?
Yeah.
And I said, well, nothing, because I don't think that's going to happen.
And has anybody kicked you out yet?
Not so far, no.
So this is actually a good time. I'm gonna tell my grandma's story real quick. My grandma Gladys's story. Did I ever tell you her story?
It's on your tapes.
Oh, it is on the tapes. So
about the ugly super van or whatever.
Yeah. Oh, that's it. Yes, the Toyota Avalon, ugliest car I've ever seen in my life. So I'll try to tell it really quickly. But my grandma Gladys, this is a real story. She lived in outside in Wellswood area, over by the Hillsborough River. Lived in that house like 65 years. Very similar to you. Family house, raised the kids there, memories there. Never wanted to lose it. Well, my grandfather passes away. She runs into some really bad financial difficulties, and I was a young mortgage broker in the early 2000s. It's very important to know the date here. This is probably around like 2005, 2006. Market was great. Prices were going up, rates were really good. But my grandfather passed away and she really didn't have any money. And that's where I got involved as a young originator. It's kind of weird to have your grandmother cry to you, literally, and say she can't afford to put food in the fridge. But she was so house poor. It was ridiculous. But my grandfather had left her with a small mortgage. She owed like 40 grand. House was probably worth 200 at the time. So I said, Gladys, I just learned about the reverse mortgage product. I called my grandmother Gladys. But anyway, I said, you want to try it? And she said, anything. So we did it. I closed my first reverse mortgage with her. Now, in a reverse mortgage, you get 4 benefits, up to 4 benefits, right? Everybody gets their mortgage payment paid off. That's what happened to you, right, Rick?
Correct.
No mortgage payment done. Now, if you have enough equity, and you're old enough, because age and equity are the 2 qualifying factors, they can give you a lump sum of cash, right? Different products, different things. My grandma got both so far. So they gave her like $30,000. They paid off her mortgage. So immediately that changed her life forever. Now she didn't have that $500 mortgage payment. She could afford to buy food. Well, then they put $30,000 in her account. So she went out and bought her first new car ever at age 82, a brown Toyota Avalon with beige cloth seats, ugliest thing I've ever seen in my life. But she loved it, right? It was great. So then the other thing you can get is you could take an equity line of credit. They'll give you depending on the program, after 12 months, you may have enough equity for an equity line. She did, so she got another like $40,000 in 12 months. That was great. I'll explain how that helped in just a second. But they also can give you a monthly payment for life. Now, we don't recommend this because in a reverse mortgage, you only have one bucket of money, right? And if you're dividing that bucket up, why would I not just give you all the cash out of the bucket right now instead of telling you got to get a little bit at a time for, however many years? Well, I didn't know any better. I was a young originator. So I gave her all the buckets, right? She got $500 a month. Now, turned out good because Gladys lived from 82 to 93.
Oh, my gosh.
All right. So she lived a long time after that reverse mortgage. But remember, we talked about these myths that what happens if the house is underwater? They're going to kick you out, right, Rick?
Yeah.
No, they don't kick you out, right? That's what everybody thinks, right? That was the myth Rick and I talked about. So what happened to Gladys was 2008 came around. Well, remember what happened in 2008? The whole world fell out from underneath us.
Right.
Property values went down in half. They lost half of their equity. Well, she had a mortgage that the balance was going up. Values went down. It was the perfect storm. She was underwater in about 5 years. And she lived another 5.5 years. So the balance kept going up. Now, interesting side note, she took that money, which just like, anybody gets money, it's tax-free money. You get it, do whatever you want with it. She went to Bank of America and started investing it. And I don't know if I put this part on the video.
I don't remember.
But she started investing it with a little investment guy at Bank of America. Well, you know the old saying, we're told to buy low and sell high? Well, she didn't realize that she was buying at the lowest because the market had tanked in 2008. Yeah. Stocks were worth half the value too. She was buying all these stocks at the bottom barrel price. And then by the time she passed away, they had all gone up. So here's the full circle on this. A reverse mortgage is a non-recourse loan. It doesn't matter what equity you have. It doesn't matter what you have in the bank. Now, she didn't have millions, but she had thousands, right? Her house was $60,000 underwater. She passed away. My dad and I signed the house over to the bank, gave it back. We didn't owe a penny. Nobody did. The estate didn't know anything on that 60 grand she was underwater. and she left us an inheritance that we all got. So talk about too good to be true. I remember my dad at the time. I think he was probably about I don't know 68 or something like that. He's like, I can't believe this. He's like, you just did the greatest thing that I've ever seen done, for my mom and your grandmother. I was blown away. So that's where I learned. I learned all the really neat stuff. I learned they can't take your house. But now let's talk about the Save Our Family Homes Act, because Rick, this probably won't impact you, but it could be beneficial for your kids.
Right.
Mm-hmm. I hope you and your wife see 100 or longer. Okay. You're in great shape, I got to say. I mean, you could do it. Right. But let's say both of you live to 110. All right. Let's say that we have another bad couple years in the economy and the prices go down. I think we're going to do fine. They're going to keep going up. But let's just pretend like that perfect storm happens. And one day, you and your wife are both walking the pearly gates through there and doing your thing up there in the clouds, right? Well, your kids are left down here. Your kids will have the ability to buy your family home at 5% under whatever you owe. Under value. Mm-hmm. Regardless of what you owe, your kids will be able to buy that home back. Right. So those memories do not have to go away.
And they may have owned homes of their own by that time. I know.
Of course.
My daughter has a home.
Mm-hmm.
And they bought up in Land O'Lakes a while back. And my son got married 3 years ago, and he's now starting to look for a home. So they'll have their own place. And it matters to me that there's something about our life that I leave behind to them.
Yes.
So they can sell it and split the dough. I don't really care.
Split the dough, exactly. And I like how you said that, because that's what will happen.
Yeah.
In a reverse mortgage, it's just a loan. Mm-hmm. They can sell it. Hell, they could buy it and refinance it and move into it.
If they wanted to.
If they wanted to. They could rent it. They could do whatever they want. That's the key of all these stupid myths, is they're just myths. And you can actually accomplish this.
I'm in the insurance business, and
Mm-hmm.
I sell a lot of senior type products.
Okay.
And sometimes you go and see where people are living and what they're living on, and you learn,
blow your mind.
It blows my mind, and I ask, when you learn like what they did with their lives, how they worked and all that stuff. They were pretty successful people.
Yeah.
But now they're like living off of a Social Security check or something.
Right.
And
but they have all this equity.
Yeah.
A lot of them have worked so hard, Rick, and they've built up all this equity in their house. And I know my parents taught me the definition of house poor. Right? When you're sitting on this equity and a big payment and you can't afford to do anything else. Like, utilize this equity.
Exactly.
And that's what you and your wife are doing.
Yeah.
So have you all done any trips, any fun stuff?
Well, about a year ago, 9 months ago, my wife had to have knee replacement surgery. So
okay.
She's still mending from that. And it's not. Her car is 24 years old.
Oh gosh.
She has a 2003 Honda Pilot with 129,000 miles on it.
Ooh, that's actually not bad for 2003, to be honest. That's pretty low mileage.
Well, that's like, and that's the first time around. Okay.
Yeah. I love it.
But it's old, and so it's getting a little broken. So it's time to buy her a new car. So we're going to buy her a car and no car payment.
Yeah. Isn't that phenomenal?
Yeah.
You're going to buy a car and not even have to have a payment.
Right.
And you're using the reverse mortgage. Yeah. Absolutely phenomenal. Listen, that's why I like having Rick on the show, because I can tell you about it.
Yeah.
I can tell these stories, but having somebody like this who actually has done it. Before we go to break, we have one more segment coming up here with Rick and the reverse mortgage story. You got to hear Gladys's story, which is awesome. Guys, don't forget, I am selling my house. It's not listed yet. I just found out that you can figure out where that is, but I'm going to tell you it is in Odessa. We have some almost an acre of property. It's all fenced in, a beautiful fire pit. You've got an awesome game room with a lighted Scotch bar. If you like Scotch or anything else, you've got a great lighted bar. You've got a pool. You've got a detached like mother-in-law suite style thing. You can throw your teenagers or your mother-in-law in as long as they can go up the stairs. But you also have an awesome race garage. So there's some really cool things. If you're interested, find me online. Reach out to me. Text me 813-765-1239. And you might be one of the first people to get to see it before it hits the market. Stay tuned. We'll be back with Rick Maguire and the Reverse Mortgage Saga. All right, Rick. This is the last segment.
Okay.
What do we got to hit? What should we do here? Experience. I'm going to ask you: would you recommend a reverse mortgage to people?
Okay, I'm going to give you an honest answer.
And you give me, please do.
Yeah.
I don't care what it is.
Yeah.
You give me the honest answer. Yeah.
No, I wouldn't do it. Yeah. Whoa, don't do what I did.
Yeah. Hold on, you Instagrammers gotta see what Ricky says. He goes, yeah, don't do what I did. he's like, the truth is I'm homeless. The new car he was talking about for his wife, they're living in it.
Yeah. You gotta start it with your feet.
That's almost a Honda Pilot's not gonna have a floorboard if you keep driving it. That's so funny. My dad actually drove a Honda Pilot early 2000s. He put like 200,000 miles on that car, and then finally they got a new one. And then he wrecked it. Anyway. All right, James, we're ready when you are.
Let's get back to the Business Happy Hour radio show with your host, Frank the Bank Cotto, owner of Lincoln Lending Group, and his co-host, Senia Akishina, realtor with Mahara and Associates.
All right, Tampa Bay, we're back to our last segment here on the Business Happy Hour. This show has gone so fast. I'm having so much fun over here with my buddy Rick Maguire. So, guys, if you didn't listen in the beginning, Rick closed a reverse mortgage with us for him and his wife back in September 2025. So he's a little more than a year and a half in, about a year and a half into his reverse mortgage. They're talking about a new car with no car payment. He's figured out how to self-escrow with the taxes and set up payment plans for those things so he's not coming out of pocket big bills. We've talked about keeping the family house for the kids. Yeah, I'm sure they drew how tall they were on the wall somewhere. Matter of fact, with me selling my house, another shameless plug, I am selling that house in Odessa. So if you're interested, you better reach out before it hits the market. It is a corner lot as well. I didn't tell you guys that. Nice executive lot. But talking about sell, we have a wall in our house that has my kids ever since they were like 2 feet tall. Started with crayon all the way to marker of how tall they were, when my daughter passed my son, stuff like that. I told my wife, I was like, they're going to hate us, but I'm cutting that out. Like, I am going to cut that piece of wood out of the bookshelf, and I'm going to bring it with me and have them patch it up. Because there's no way I'm getting rid of that. That's the ultimate memory, right?
Right.
That's like when you do your initials in a tree years ago. What do? Do you cut down the tree? I don't know.
I rode by my old house that I grew up in back up in Massachusetts about 2 years ago. And as I was driving by it, I just looked at it. I said, I wonder if our measure wood is still inside that broom closet.
Oh, my God. Now, you didn't knock on the door, did you?
No, I didn't. No.
Man. Yeah. I did that. The house that I grew up in as a kid was in Carrollwood, also was on Chestersaw. And I was at a party, I don't know, 6-7 years ago, something like that. And I happened to meet the new owners of the house. And I had no shame. I said, listen, could I go in the house? I was like, I grew up there. I haven't been to that house in 20-something years. Mm-hmm. I'm like, could I just, and they walked me through, and boy, talk about bringing back memories. Now I didn't have anything cool. I don't think I had a measure board or anything. But.
Well, it was just, an inside of a closet with white and
you just make a little line, right?
Yeah.
And you write it. I bet you it's still there.
It probably is.
I mean. Yeah.
Unless they painted the inside of the closet.
Right. You go in there with a hacksaw, and they're like, what's this guy doing? Yeah. All right, so Rick, the hard question, I'm going to ask him, and I promised in this last segment, I want Rick to answer, and he said he's going to answer honestly, and I don't know what he's going to say. James was worried. Berlander's like, I don't think you should ask him on the air. But I'm going to ask you, Rick, a really hard question. Okay. You've told us a little bit about your reverse mortgage experience. I think it was probably pretty positive, but I want to know, would you recommend a reverse mortgage to your friends and family, and if so, why?
Well, here's my answer to that, Frank. If your situation was like the one I was in, it's a perfect solution. You are at an age where, you're not going to be
I like what you said, the fourth quarter.
The fourth quarter, yeah.
Right.
And you really, really want to stay there.
Yeah.
And you've looked around at alternatives to find someplace else to go, and they just aren't available to your. Yeah. You don't want to.
It's more expensive now.
Well, you say downgrade, but I don't want the places I don't want to live.
Right.
Yeah.
You're not trying to go into a drug neighborhood.
Right. Exactly. And so if your situation was like mine and you still owed money on the house,
yeah,
I can't think of anything else to recommend to you.
Right.
Unless you have some relative that is sick and they're going to leave you a lot of money, but.
Right, but even then, you got to wait.
You got to
wait. Then you might find yourself praying the wrong way.
Yeah, really. So in my situation, it worked out perfectly.
Thank you, Ray.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Thank you. Now, there's some people that a lady that I spoke to this morning, I met her through the Northdale Owls, by the way. You ever been to the Northdale Owls thing?
Yeah, that lives right up the street from me.
Yeah. So it's a great organization. If you guys ever wanted something to do in the month, it's a lot of fun. Yeah. They do all kinds of events. But I met this wonderful lady there, talked to her this morning. So she does not have a mortgage on her house. And a lot of people think, and I would agree with Rick, and those are the perfect scenarios. You've got a mortgage, even though you're at the tail end of a 30-year mortgage, you're still paying a couple $1,000s a month to live in your house. Why? And you made a great point. Why do I care about paying off a house? I just did a mortgage for somebody who was 79 the other day, and they took out a 30-year loan, and they put down a bunch of money. I'm like, why would you do that? Just put the money in your bank account, have no payment, live your life. And that's what don't we all work to live eventually?
Yeah. I mean, when you die and go to heaven, God's not going to say to you, did you work enough overtime? You know?
Right. No. He's going to say, well, you got a long retirement here. You should have enjoyed some down there on that rock. I mean, I think that's what I'm trying to do. But anyway, I'm losing my train of thought is this wonderful lady, we talked to her this morning, she has no mortgage. And she's like, well, can I do a reverse mortgage? She's like, I thought I had to have a mortgage. I said, no, ma'am, you don't need a mortgage. The difference is we're not paying anything off. So all that money goes in your pocket. And I told her, I said, I can get you $200,000. She's like, well, I don't need that much. I said, okay, let's give you $100,000. Okay, that's great. So she's getting her $100,000, and then she's going to get an equity line for the difference. So she can borrow it whenever she wants.
Right.
And the difference is that, and probably what you're going to use for the car, is you only borrow what you need. And that way your balance doesn't go through the roof right away, and you're not deferring as much interest. Right. But the bottom line, it sounds like you're pretty happy with your reverse mortgage experience.
It has been good, yes.
It's been good. And what would you tell the listeners, where should they start? Should they go to the website? Should they just call? What do you think?
Well, I mean, you have to know yourself better than that, who you are. But I think it's always, this is me speaking, but it's always best, I'm more comfortable approaching something when I have some sort of knowledge of the topic that I'm heading into. Because at least you can ask meaningful questions, and understand the answers and so forth.
Right. And did you feel that we explained it well?
Yeah. I mean, obviously the evidence is here. I'm in your radio station telling you all about it, right?
Exactly. Well, hey, listen, do you want to give any shout outs to any family or the kids or grandkids or anything? You want to?
No, that's it.
No, that's it?
Yeah.
All right. Well, Rick, thank you so much for coming on the show.
Well, thanks for inviting me.
Yeah, I think we'll just keep doing this. I mean, this is a lot of fun having you on. I wish Cynthia could have met you.
Will I need an agent?
James is always available. He does well with sound effects, water, keeping us on time. But no, it is a pleasure to have you on the show, Rick. I really do appreciate it. And no, we didn't pay Rick or anything to come on the show today. But we'll keep up with you for sure. And I love the insight that you gave the listeners on the escrows. That was some really good information to help people out there that you can do that, guys. So again, go to reverseguru.com, go to lincolnlendinggroup.com. We do all kinds of mortgages, not just reverse. But remember what Rick said. If you are doing a reverse mortgage, I'm going to talk to you personally. Yes, we'll have Diane and Beverly assist with things, but these mortgages, it may be the last mortgage you ever take out in your entire life, and I want you to have the information, and I want you to be very comfortable with it. So thank you again, Rick, and thanks for everything you've helped us with.
Oh, my pleasure. Thanks, Frank.
All right. So, guys, it's been a great show. That's Rick Maguire, my good buddy. Don't forget that I am selling my house in Odessa. You guys, corner lot, fenced in, beautiful home. It's going to be right about $1 million. So if you've got that money burning in your pocket or you want a chance to get in there before anybody else, hit me a text directly, 813-765-1239. You can click the button to call me through the Lincoln Lending Group website as well. I'd love to talk to you. Again, reverse mortgages, Rick Maguire endorses, so do I. We'll see you guys next week on the Business Happy Hour.